In today's show, we hear from Mr. September, Luke Hodge. We give our grand final predictions, Norm Smith medal winners, and our key matchups. Welcome to the West Sports Show, grand final edition. We are brought to you by TabTouch. Got the touch? Download the TabTouch app today. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Thursday, a couple of days out from the big game. And I am joined, as always on a Thursday, by Mitchell Woodcock. G'day, Mitch.
G'day, Quarters. Oh, wow, it's grand final week. Can you believe it? There's no WA team in it, but it still feels massive, doesn't it? It just feels big.
Now, a bit of breaking news. You have on your device the Norm Smith voting panel for 2025.
Yep.
Please advise.
So thanks to Mitch Cleary from Channel 7 in Melbourne. He has put this out on X.
A friend of this program, Mitch.
Yeah, great man, Mitch Cleary. Congratulations to him and his partner, Kate. They're also having a baby. Norm Smith voting panel. Andrew McLeod will be the chair. Obviously, two-time Norm Smith medalist from Adelaide.
Has a couple in his pocket. Saw them both.
Luke Hodge got a couple as well.
Yes.
He's also in there. Kate McCarthy, Jack Riewoldt, played in 3 premierships, and Adam Simpson, the former Eagles coach as well as North Melbourne premiership player. They will all be voting on what is going to be a massive Norm Smith medal.
Well, Mitch, we'll give our grand final tips and Norm Smith medal winners in a moment. But first, it is September. You just mentioned his name. We have access to Mr. September, the great Luke Hodge, who spent a few moments with our own Chris Robinson talking about grand finals. Let's have a listen.
Luke Hodge, thanks so much for joining us on the West Sports Show, and happy grand final week. And first of all, can you believe it's been 17 years since you got your first taste at a grand final and premiership glory?
When you say like that, it feels it's a long time ago. It doesn't feel that long ago, but look, it's amazing how time flies. And I still look forward to grand final week every time. Walking around Melbourne now, been to the MCG, a couple of times this week. It's look, the vibes here. It's Melbourne, so the weather's inconsistent as it always is, but like the vibe's still the same. It's always one of the best weekends of the year.
Well, Luke, the big story of the week, of course, Lachie Neale, well on track to play in this game in one of the more remarkable grand final stories that we've seen. What do you envisage his role being on Saturday, and where do you sit on the scale of risk versus reward when it comes to the decision to play him?
Look, I think it's a lot on where your team or where your list is at this stage. And if you look through the Lions have had so many injuries the last 18 months. Mm-hmm. You look through the depth that they've had and all. You talk about lists and your list depth. Their depth is actually playing at the moment because there's so many of their main 22 or main 18. So many of those guys are out injured. Yep. So you sort of sit back and go, where can Lachie Neale come in? First of all, does he pass a fitness test? Yep. And I think from all reports, he's got through everything and he's ready to go. The next phase is can he get through 120 minutes? I think that's the big question. Mm-hmm. Two-way running, 120 minutes of football, that's the massive question mark. And look, Lachie's as mentally tough as any player that you'll see along the AFL system. He's played through injuries his whole career. So there's no doubt he can push himself through. Soft tissues is a little bit dangerous, but I think the other side of it is, can he push that 120 minutes? So I'm a big believer that if they do play him, which it's either that or a younger up-and-coming kid, mm-hmm. Who's going to have the most impact is probably going to be Lachie. So I reckon if he does get the nod, it'll be as a sub.
Can you shed some light on your own experience with players carrying significant niggles or genuine injuries into grand finals, whether it's yourself, Luke, with the famous rib issue from 2008 or teammates as well? How tough is the challenge of navigating the week and the build-up and figuring out if you're right to go?
Well, I think each injury, you've got to treat it differently. And I think with that, his is a soft tissue, which he did 3 weeks ago. So there is a massive risk, the fact that it could go early once he hits fatigue. That could be something, and this is something they've got to play with and understand that this could be a possibility. Other blokes have gone, like, so Cyril Rioli was one in 2014 who hadn't played for a number of weeks. He did a really severe hamstring, came back, played half a game of VFL the week before, and then they took the risk with him and he got through and had a real impact in our side. So, but there's been other guys with ankles and adductors like Reid a couple of years ago for Sydney. There's been plenty of stories that they haven't turned out the way they wanted to, but there's also been a few that have got through and had premiership success.
Of course, we saw these two grand final teams meet just 3 weeks ago in a qualifying final, with Geelong winning that by 38 points. Luke, so from Brisbane's point of view, you've experienced this in 2015 with the Hawks in September against West Coast. So you came over to Subiaco Oval, you lost by 32 points, and then went on to earn the rematch in the grand final. So entering that grand final, what was the approach from you guys to playing the Eagles again? What did you learn, and where did you sort of find the balance between closely studying that qualifying final to learn from it, and then I guess from a confidence point of view, sort of flushing it from the memory and starting anew?
Yeah, I think there's a few things different from 2015 to now with the size of the venue. So you look at what we did. We went across and played over in WA on a much skinnier oval.
Yep.
It was what was it called? The West Coast Web that they were so good at that we really struggled too. We had a number of guys that didn't perform as we would have wanted them to, or they would have wanted to. But then also we had a very, very experienced side.
Yep.
Who were pretty resilient guys and had a bit of pride about them. So we knew that they were going to respond in the right way. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, we're back playing West Coast. And unfairly for them, it was on our home deck. So we knew it was wider field. We knew that we had the understanding on how to play that field. Our kicking ability was going to get through the web with 15 metres extra width they would have had to defend. If you look through now at the Lions versus the Cats, it's still on the MCG. So this is where they played 3 weeks ago. It's on the Cats' home deck or second home, apart from if you take them away from down at Kadini Park or whatever they call that now, GMHBA. And the other thing with the resilience, the Lions have got that many injuries that I think last week the youngest 8 on the ground in the prelim versus Collingwood were all Brisbane Lions. So you sort of sit back and go, that's the other doubt from that they might be scarred from the performance that they put up 3 weeks ago against the Cats. So you sort of sit here and go, an experienced Cats team, they convincingly beat them. I know it was only 38 points, but probably should have been more by how the Cats kicked that game.
Yep.
Yeah, so you've got to sit back, and it's things are leaning towards the Cats.
We saw in that game Hugh McCluggage, a really effective shutdown job from O'Sheen Mullen, helped keep Hugh McCluggage to 14 touches in that game. Are you expecting that identical matchup? And if so, what kind of adjustment do you think we're going to see from Hugh and from the Lions?
Yeah, I think if you look at that, when a coach makes a move like that and it works so successfully, you have to go back to it. I think coaches who won't go back to it are trying to outsmart the system, and you don't want to do that grand final day. So you'd expect O'Connor to go to Cam Rayner because he did a good job. He got Cam kicked 3 goals, but 2 of them were for those off-play free kicks. And then Huey obviously was kept to 14 touches by Mullen. You'd have to run with that tag again. The positive for the Lions is both of them know it will be coming this time. So Hugh would have no doubt spoken to Zorko when he got tagged, spoken to Lachie Neale, would have spoken to Josh Dunkley, the guys who have either been tagged or tagged throughout their career, and figured out a few ideas, because what Hugh definitely did in that first final, he tried to make it a 1v1 battle, and that's exactly what a tagger wants. He doesn't care if he gets 10 touches and you get 14 touches. He's done his job. So what you need to do is bring your teammates in on the plan, maybe go and sit as a winger, make the opposition coach make a decision on do you stick with the tag or should he go to somewhere else. So try and get some blocks from a teammate. You put some blocks on, try and be active. So at least that way your tagger has to think on other things more than just you.
You mentioned Dane Zorko there. He's about to become the second oldest player to feature in a grand final behind Michael Tuck. Can you give us a bit of insight into sort of what drives him and of course, how significant he is in sort of setting the table in that back half?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at a bloke and this is a bloke who's playing at this age, he missed the first 4 or 5 drafts because Gold Coast and a lot of other teams didn't want to take a risk on a person of that height, and I guess his fitness probably was a little bit of a question, but what he's been able to do over his journey, 300 games, he's trying to be a 2-time premiership player. He's won 5 BNFs at the Lions. He's been so dedicated to that football club. He's been the heart and soul of it for the last 15 or 16 years. So, and I think at this age, he still drives a lot of it. Like you look at the back end, like when he's having a good game, the Lions are looking really good. I think normally when you get to that age, you look at a Scotty Pendlebury, it's the younger guys that are the initiators who are trying to drive and and trying to make things happen. It's Zorko still at this age that he's still that good, and he's got such an elite kick that when he's playing a good game and setting things up, it's really, really a key for the Lions.
Absolutely. Last one before I get a tip from you. From a more broad point of view, what are the most important things about the lead up and the approach to grand finals? If a player was asking you sort of how do I navigate these days leading into the big day, what are you telling them?
Right, it's almost, and I got this advice from Stewie Jew, as you said, it was 17 years ago now.
Yep.
Stewie Jew said, just sit and relax. He goes, don't be tense, don't be uptight. You can actually enjoy the day, enjoy the parade beforehand, because the more tense you are, the more energy you use. So go and enjoy it. Get all the nerves out. Go out and make sure you have a look at the G, have a look at the 50,000 people out there while you're doing a warm up. And really soak it in, and then really understand your role. It's the people who go well in big games, the people who go well in grand finals are the guys who don't overthink the situation. It's in easy way to simplify it. It's just another game, and I know 100,000 people are there yelling at you, but there's no difference. The same opponent from 3 weeks ago. The ball's the same. The oval's the same. Just try and simplify everything else, and it comes a lot easier.
Give us a tip and a Norm Smith medal winner. Can Will Ashcroft join your multiple winners club, or are you going with someone else for the Norm?
Well, my tip, as much as I'm trying to go the old reverse psychology, as much as I want the Lions to get up for a back-to-back, I think the Cats are going to be too strong. I think if you look at it, their performance 3 weeks ago, their performance against Hawks in the prelim was outstanding. They've got so many selfless players that are willing to play shutdown roles and do what they need to do for them to win. And plus, their coach is a master. So I think the Cats are going to be too strong. So I reckon they're going to win by about 30 points. And I'm actually voting and presenting the Norm Smith medal. So I don't think I'm allowed to give any votes out because I might be a little bit biased on the side. That's what the call was. So I'll sit back, and whoever plays the best on the day I'll be putting the medal around their neck.
Yeah, you're in a very good position to judge. Of course, everyone can enjoy Luke Hodge's work on Sevens coverage on grand final day. Luke, best of luck with the broadcast, mate, and enjoy the day.
Excellent. Thanks, mate. Have a good day. Cheers.
Well, Quarters, have you calmed down? Are you okay? Luke Hodge?
Always great to hear advice from Luke. How about the Stewie Jew stuff? Just take in grand final week. Don't get too anxious about it. Players who are cool and calm and soak it all up are those who do better on grand final day. Those who play the game in their heads beforehand don't go so well. It's good advice.
The aircon's in here, but Quarters is sweating after Luke Hodge is on the screen, I tell you.
Well, no, it's just did play a couple of vital roles in Hawthorn Premiership, so good on him. Let's talk grand final, Mitch. But before we do, let's hear the latest odds from our old mate at Tab Touch, Shorttey.
Shorty's tips.
G'day, Shorttey.
Hello, Quarters. Nice to be with you.
Sadly, for the last time this year.
Indeed, but we've got one hell of a game to look forward to, so let's go out with a bang, hey?
Let's do it. Who's hot this week? I've got an inkling about who it might be.
Man, this guy, 35 on his back, 35 years of age, Patrick Dangerfield, 31 disposals, 3 goals. Oh, my God, he was amazing last week. If he can reproduce that in the grand final, he's got to be a great chance for the Norm Smith medal at $8.50.
Gee, can he do it at his age?
I can't see why not.
Well, he's nice and rested.
He is, yeah, big time.
Will there be deja vu this weekend?
Great question. Brisbane, they're paying $2.55 if we do get that feel, and Will Ashcroft, $11 to make it to Norm Smith's on the bounce.
Could be his brother Levi, you never know. Who's your hot tip this week?
I'm going with the same game multi. So Dangerfield to playing a bit more through the middle of the ground to get 20 or more. Sean Manor to get 15 or more disposals. I mean, really impressed with him. Jeremy Cameron, we're not looking for any miracles there. Him to kick 2 or more. And Kai Lohman to kick a goal. That's paying $4.35. I thought they were all realistic outcomes. Not a bad price.
What would I get? One from left field, just out of the top of your head. What would I get for Cameron to kick the 12 to reach the ton?
Oh, wow. You'd get very large odds. I don't think it's available, but I think he'd max it. It'd be well and truly in the thousands.
And they'll be talking about it in 50 years. Probably not you and I, Shorty, but someone will be talking about it in 50 years if that happens.
Indeed.
And he's in the goals.
He is. He's had a hell of a year. 88 goals, as you just touched on. He's paying $7.50 to kick the first goal of the match. He's done that 5 times this season, the most of any player, and $3.25 to kick 4 or more.
Who's your player to watch? Someone I really like and respect, actually.
Yeah, same. And he's no spring chicken either. It's Dane Zorko. So I went back and looked at the last 3 games that these sides have played each other. He's twice been the leading disposal winner in those games. His numbers are 28, 33 and 35 disposals. It really does reinforce how much he enjoys this matchup. He's paying $3.35 to have 30 or more disposals and $26 to win the Norm Smith medal.
Well, I'm pretty sure Geelong and Chris Scott will be looking at a way to curb his output from halfback, as they will Hugh McCluggage, as they did in the qualifying final.
Big time. And that's the really interesting part of this matchup, the tag factor that Geelong have up their sleeve. They've got 3 guys that they can use to on the chessboard to just make things tricky for Brisbane. But Brisbane have been pretty clever too, tactically, in the last couple of years. Fagan will have, I'm sure, his own return to serve. So what a hell of a game it's going to be.
Absolutely, it is, Shorty. It's been great to share the journey with you this year. Thanks so much for your efforts.
Thank you for having me. Quarters, it's been a wonderful year, and thanks to everybody tuned in. Good luck for big grand final day.
Good luck in the spring carnival, my friend.
Ooh, we'll be trying hard. Thanks, Quarters.
Okay, Mitch. Talking point of the week. Lachie Neale and that enormous calf muscle.
That's apparently in one piece and good enough to play. So we're talking, we'll time code this. It is 2:35 on a Thursday afternoon, Australian Western Standard Time. So the teams aren't out for about another 2 hours.
He's named.
He's going to be named. So if he wasn't going to be named, it would have been released by now. So we're expecting him to come in for Jared Berry. Dislocated that shoulder twice this year. In the late half of this year,
You don't want to risk 2 players in a grand final. So Lachie Neale might be one, but you don't want to risk 2 being too short early.
I can't remember who said this, and apologies to whoever did, but I heard him early in the week someone say that if you can't tackle in a grand final, you can't play. And I think that's perfect for Jared Berry. He's not going to be able to tackle. Like that popped out lunging. It's not looking great. So he'll come out. Bruce Rebel, you'd think, could be the sub again, but it's going to be interesting if Lachie Neale maybe becomes the sub. So there's a couple of intricacies here, and then we're only probably expecting, we're getting one change at least for Geelong, so Tom Stewart will come out. The word is it'll be Reece Stanley coming in, so that'll allow Blitzarves to go back, forward, we don't kind of know.
With Jack Henry still, he'll play, but that ankle had a bit of a sore ankle last week, so there's good insurance there. Some milestones this week, 25 finals for Lachie Neale if he plays, 20 finals for Harris Andrews, Zach Bailey, Jared Berry, well, he won't play, Jeremy Cameron, Hugh McCluggage, Dane Zorko, and, of course, 20 finals for Chris Fagan as a coach. For Chris Scott, it'll be his 33rd final, drawing level with Ron Barassi in equal 8th position on the VFL AFL finals coached. Patrick Dangerfield, a player we all love and respect, set to play his 31st final, joining Gordon Nuts Coventry and the great Harry Taylor in equal 6th position on the VFL AFL played finals played list. Some great careers there amongst it.
So, Quarters, you've watched a lot more football than me, but I would say that preliminary final performance from Patrick Dangerfield last Friday night against Hawthorn was one of the best solo performances I've seen on a football field in a final. That was something else, wasn't it?
I agree. Unfortunately for fellow Hawks supporters like myself, 3 of his 4 best games have been against Hawthorn. Yeah. The first was the first was Easter Monday in 2016, where he towed Hawthorn. That was his first game for Geelong after crossing from Adelaide. Another one was the following year when he was on one leg, went off the ground with a sore ankle, came back, kicked 5 goals. Thank you very much. I think ahead of them all would be the preliminary final performance last weekend. And the 4th was that game against North Melbourne where he had 48 possessions in a game, which equaled the record for a Geelong player in a game. Yep. So, unfortunately, he saved his best for Hawthorn.
It's sheer willpower. That was sheer willpower. That was a man who was just, I'm going to win this game, whether it costs me something dear or not. He just threw himself around everywhere. Paddy Dangerfield is much like Nat Fyfe in terms of and this is all due respect, they're not the most skillful players, but when they were at their best is when they were just at their competitive best. And they were just beeline the football, and it was them and the football, and they didn't care what was around and what was going to get in their way. They were going to get the footy. Like some of the efforts he had, the solo efforts, are just outstanding. I tell you what, if he does that on Saturday, it'll be one of the great grand final performances.
Okay, well, let's talk some matchups firstly. Do they lock down on Patrick Dangerfield? Can you lock down on Patrick Dangerfield?
Not with the way he played. You can't tag that, Quarters. You can put your body in the way, but he was just pushing Hawks out the way at the weekend. He was pushing teammates out the way. It was him and the ball. That was all it was. So I don't think you can tag him. And And I don't think Brisbane have a tagger.
The player that you could go with is Ryan Lester, who started his AFL life as a midfielder, and can go down back, and plays down back. So you could go with him forward, but I think that's Leicester's more likely to go to Jeremy Cameron. Played on him in the qualifying final, got towed up in the first quarter, kicked 2 goals, had plenty of it early, Jeremy Cameron, but he nullified him in the second half. So I think they stay with Leicester on Jeremy Cameron.
I think they'll go Darcy Gardner. He spent a fair bit of him on that qualifying final as well and kept him only to a handful of disposals and goalless. So, but I'm curious the way that goes. I think the big one for me, Cord, is Ocean Mullen up against Hugh McCluggage. That was a fascinating... Hugh McCluggage was dismantled in that game, only had the 14 touches, averaging 35 disposals and 10 clearances and 6 inside 50s since. So that, for me, is the matchup that could define this grand final, believe it or not.
I agree with you. I think he will go to McCluggage. O'Connor, Atkins are other options, but he will. I think O'Connor probably, do you think, goes to Cam Rayner?
He has to, doesn't he? It's what happened last time. It worked. Cam Rayner, though, will push up into the midfield a bit more, I would suggest, in this game.
So who's the natural matchup for Atkins then? Is it Smith? Is it a Will Ashcroft, or does Smith just go head-to-head with Will Ashcroft?
I think Smith goes head-to-head with Will Ashcroft. I think Atkins might play that negative midfielder role, but not necessarily on one player. I just think he'll do that tackling stuff that he does, where he mows guys down and he's in the contest. I think you can't be too negative, and I know that Chris Scott's got that beautiful balance at the moment, right? So that for me is going to be pivotal. And then at the other end, Geelong have got to worry about tagging a defender for me. Like if Harris Andrews has another massive game, he had 12 marks, 5 intercept marks last weekend against Collingwood. If he does that, it's going to be huge. So how do they do that? Do they send blitzarves to him, Quarters?
They could. Well, that's why you want to have insurance with the ruck position.
Yeah, so can you send blitzarves to him and try and take him out the game? The important thing is to not bomb it down the line, because Harris Andrews just sets himself so beautifully. So you're going to have to switch the ball. You're going to have to open the corridor up, and you're going to have to navigate around him. But if you can't and you're straight down the line, he's just going to gobble it up all day.
So I think Harris Andrews will go to Shannon Neale at first, and then I think depending on what Shannon Neale does, he's quite athletic. He can go play higher up the ground. They won't want that, the Lions. They want Harris Andrews to stick back.
Yeah, of course.
Darcy Gardner may be the option then. So if you have got O'Connor with Rayner, is it Jack Henry v Logan Morris and Zach Guthrie v Charlie Cameron, the natural matchups?
Yeah, you would. The one that's stressing me without another tall defender, it probably ends up with Sam DeConning on Ty Gallop. Yeah. Ty Gallop had a coming-of-age party on that Friday night.
Can he go back-to-back at such a young age?
I think youth helps him, to be honest. It's almost naivety. It's like, who's expecting the 19-year-old to do something so big on such a grand stage? I thought he was brilliant on Saturday night against Collingwood. Just big shoulders for a young man too. Like between him and Logan Morris, they are just two very talented young forwards. And, we talk about Oscar Allen arriving and Hipwood not being there. But, yeah, I think they can hold up. I think Fagan will just be asking for a contest because he's got the smalls in Bailey, in Rayner, in Cameron hopefully firing, and Archie. He'll just be asking for a contest to bring that ball to ground and then work it from there. But it's going to be fascinating.
Is Dunkley an option for Dangerfield?
Yeah, but not much a run with, just more of a head-to-head, because I think they're both really tough nuts. Like, Dunkley's just so hard. An amazing career, Dunkley, isn't it? Overlooked by Sydney as a father-son. I know, reports are it upset the Dunkley family. Ends up the Bulldogs. Tries to get to Essendon, which, thank God he didn't.
Dual premiership player at 2 clubs.
Yeah, but thank God he didn't end up at Essendon like he wanted to. The year later, stays at the Dogs. A year later, ends up at Brisbane, wins a premiership. Could be going for a third at... obviously won one at the Bulldogs in 2016. So a fascinating career from him too. But, yeah, that'll be a curious one. You
mentioned earlier Harris Andrews, but I think there's 2 other players in that Lions defence that Geelong need to focus on, and one of them's Darcy Wilmot, who is one of my absolute all-time favourite underrated players. The other one is Dane Zorko. We know what he gives them. I don't think there'll be a sort of a defensive forward role lockdown as such, but I think Myers, Brad Close, Sean Manor, who's just one of my smokies for the Norm Smith. I like him. Tyson Stengel and Jack Martin, they're going to have to be accountable for those players.
Yeah, you know what? It'd be interesting. I don't think Geelong will cut the corridor off from Zorko. I think they'll leave enough room to tempt Zorko into the kicks and then close quickly. Because you don't want to take Zorko... It sounds silly, but you don't want to take the risk away from Zorko because then he'll play safe. You want him to risk it. You want him to attack the corridor with that kick. And if you get beaten a couple of times, you're going to accept it. But if he can turn it over like he did early against Collingwood, you can hurt them on the way back very quick. And that's how you get around Harris Andrews, because he's not set up behind the ball.
Yeah, so here's the thing about it. So Brisbane play a kick mark game. They like to have that control game.
Yep.
But Geelong won't mind that because they'll get set up beautifully behind the football. As we know, they are so disciplined to do so. So is Brisbane's game a bit of a mix of that and just taking on that centre corridor?
It's controlling the footy, but it's manic control almost. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like it's playing on and hitting that target up next, getting the overlap handball around, getting it into the hands of your Zorkos, of your McCluggages, of your really elite kicks, especially forward of centre. You're going to want the ball on the deck a bit more. Like I said, I don't think Gallup and Morris they're good marks and they're good young players, but you can't have them lift and carry you. You're going to need a Zach Bailey to really dominate that contest. So for me, that's where I'm looking at it. For Geelong, well, we know they like to hit those lead-up small forwards, and then they like to try and hit up Cameron and Neale. So that's what they're going to do. So if you're Brisbane, you've got to shut down that 70-metre zone and really limit that, because if you can have them kicking from 80, you can have that big bomb in. If they have those guys lowering their eyes on the overlap handball from 70 to 50 metres out, that's when Geelong is so dangerous. And that's where Cameron gets you on the way back or running through. So it's all those kind of manoeuvres that are going to be interesting.
So here's the conundrum for Brisbane. So we know, as I mentioned, we know they like that game, that style of game when it's on their terms. But the Geelong has been ranked 18th against top 8 teams at defending quick ball movement. So that quick handball, that quick play through the corridor. They're ranked last out of top 8 teams for that.
Because they don't have to do it, though, quarters.
Yeah, but you can challenge them. Brisbane laid 73 tackles against Collingwood. That's another key.
Yeah, you've got to tackle. You've got to. This game's going to be hot early. They always are, But yeah, you've got to really put pressure on the ball carriers, because Smith and Holmes, they love to run. They're going to overlap run. They're going to take, they're going to take you on.
60 inside 50s in the qualifying final, Geelong against Brisbane.
Yeah, massive.
Another 66 against Hawthorn in the preliminary final. So they're in good inside 50 form.
Can't let them get 60. You cannot let them get 60 in this game.
So how Geelong wins? So I think it's all about that D50 to forward 50 movement by Geelong. Got to challenge Brisbane's defensive structure. As you said earlier, very insightfully, don't let Harris Andrews get set behind the footy. So it's going to be clever how you get it in. Here's the key for Geelong. They've got a forward line. Is it the highest IQ forward line in the comp?
It is, but it's so also trusting. They just trust each other's movements. They're not selfish. And I think Tom Hawkins, it sounds ridiculous because he's retired, but he kind of led that in the early days when he was handballing to guys and helping, He was the best goal assists at one stage, and I think it's just carried on as a nature for the way they go about it. But yeah, for Brisbane, for Geelong, when you're going into attack, if there's an option to take that 45 lateral and go around Harris Andrews, you're going to have to take it, even if it's a risk.
That. They also laid 51 tackles in the first half in the qualifying final, Geelong. So that pressure is key. If Geelong leads at three-quarter time, you bet your house on it, because they've won 30 of their last 31 when they've been leading at three-quarter time.
They're so fit. And they're just, like I said, Bailey Smith, Max Holmes. And the one for me that's a real X factor in this is Ollie Dempsey. Kicked 3 goals, had 20-odd disposals in that qualifying final. I don't know if Brisbane have a winger who can run with him for that long. He really exposed Levi Ashcroft. And Levi's going to be moved. I thought Levi was pretty good at the weekend, the prelim. He's going to be moved out of that midfield with Neale coming in. It's going to change that mix a little bit if you can expose Levi on that outside. And Levi's going to be a very good player, but he's not a wingman. Ollie Dempsey is a wingman. He's that pure running
forward.
But he runs up back,
He does.
then he runs forward, and then he runs back again. He's going to expose Levi for that. Levi's a good young man, but he hasn't got the tank of an Ollie Dempsey yet.
Just on the Ashcrofts, so Will, amazing story last year, recovered from an ACL in his second season, went on to win the Norm Smith medal. Thank you, Will. A nice tidy collect from that, by the way. Levi in his first season gets to play in a grand final. The Ashcrofts have never lost an AFL grand final. So Dad Marcus played in the 2001, 2 and 3 premiership wins. That was his, I think, first final was in his 8th season.
Wow.
So I spoke to him this week, and he said, I keep reminding my boys how lucky you are to be in grand finals so early. But they've earned the right. They're very hard workers, those two. Pressure on, never lost. So he retired at the end of 2003 with a chronic hip injury. Didn't play in the 2004 loss to Port Adelaide. So they're zipping 4. 4 and zip in grand finals, the Ashcrofts. Let's hope for their sake they're
5 and zip.
Or 6 and zip. Daughter Lucy, the sister of, is also in the AFLW Brisbane Academy program. So
Look out.
there's another Ashcroft down the line as
Flags
well.
everywhere.
I'm going to lean on our friends from Champion Data here, Mitch, just to roll out some stats. Geelong scored 72 points from clearances last week against the Hawks. It's fifth most in any match over the last decade and the seventh most by any team in a final. The Cats have a 17-1 record when they keep their opposition to under 45 points from defensive half chains. Absolutely key against this Brisbane side we know has a lot of run and dash from the back half. That's compared to a 2-5 record when they conceded over that. Brisbane Lions won the uncontested possessions by 51 in the first term last week against Collingwood, the fifth biggest differential in a quarter in a final. The Lions have lost just one of their last 7 games at the MCG, which was to Geelong in the qualifying final by 38 points. How quickly that's flipped, Mitch. It wasn't so long ago we were talking about the fact the Lions were unable to win at the MCG. A couple of players here. Wyseen Mullen kept McCluggage to 7 disposals and 1 clearance in 59 minutes in the qualifying final. Against the Hawks, Bailey Smith became just the second Cats player to have 35-plus disposals and 600-plus metres gained in a final. Patrick Dangerfield, as we've discussed, is the first ever player to have 30-plus disposals, 20-plus contested possessions and 3-plus goals in a final, finishing with 31, 564 metres gained, 9 inside 50s and 13 score involvements. If he was tired after that performance, not half as tired as I am right now just reading that out. Ollie Dempsey has kicked 23 of 31 goals from within 30 metres out this year. The Lions will be aware of that. Ranking second in the AFL for goals scored of any non-forward mid-forward. Only Isaac Heaney, 37, has more goals. Brisbane, Ty Gallop, second youngest Lion to kick 3-plus goals in a final, finished with 11 disposals in a game at high 3 contested marks. Last week's Dane Zorko averaging 32 disposals, 812 metres gained and 9 intercept possessions against the Cats. That's why Geelong will be spending plenty of time on him in the lead-up. Will Ashcroft leads the club for scoreboard impact points per game across the finals with 18.3 and has also been involved in a team-high 33.8% of all scoring chains. And finally, Darcy Gardner kept Jeremy Cameron goalless after he's moved on to him in the second term in the qualifying final, conceded 5 disposals and 2 marks in the 76 minutes they were matched. Mitch, who wins and by how much?
I'm going Geelong by 22 points. I think their midfield's just a little bit better. Lachie Neale's fitness is still a concern even if he plays. I just don't think he's going to be 100%. Paddy Dangerfield's added a new dimension to that midfield. I just think they're so well balanced. Obviously, defensively, they're a bit short without Tom Stewart, but I just think they can cope with it. Their system overrides it. So for me, Geelong 22.
Who's your Norm Smith medalist?
Paddy Dangerfield. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just think the weight of numbers, just say it. I think if he does what he did last week, which I think he'll get close to, he's going to be the runaway winner of it.
And you can see him as a premiership captain, can't you?
It's almost destined, isn't it?
It is.
It just feels like it. What about yourself, Quarters? What do we got?
I'd like to say Brisbane, but I'm not. I'm going to say Geelong by 28 points. I just think that they've been nicely rested. Funnily enough, we talk about them having a lot of veterans that are going to appreciate the rest. No more than Dangerfield, Blissarves.
Yeah.
But they've got 10, 11 players who've never played in a grand final. This list has been turned over a lot since their last flag a couple of years ago.
No one does it better too.
No one does it better. So I'm going Geelong 28 points. And my Norm Smith medal is going to be a player I've admired for the last couple of years, Max Holmes.
Yeah, wonderful player.
I think his speed and metres gained, and he was a real eye catcher. So I think the umpires will be aware of that.
Missed 2022 as well. So I expect him to be up there too.
Was very disappointed to miss that. So,
very close to playing. Well, was fit to play, but not played, interestingly, by Chris Scott.
So most importantly, though, Mitch, who wins the halftime sprint? I'm giving you the participants now. Morris Rioli, Jed Walter, Toby Green, Beau McCreary, Nick Blakey, Jack Higgins, Murphy Reid, and Harry Garside. One's missing. Who's missing from that? Who you'd fancy?
Gout. No.
Quicker than Gout, according to his teammates. Sandy Brock.
Yeah, true. Interestingly, Toby Green's in there. Was he paying off one of his fines throughout the year by participating in this at halftime?
God, there's Morris Rioli. But you know what you need to do? If you want Morris Rioli, just have an opposition player in front of him.
Yeah.
Let him run him down.
You know what? I'm going to go back Murphy Reid. He's had a year. Why not?
Is he as quick as...
I have no idea, but I'm just going
to find out, aren't we?
I'm backing in because, why not? Matt, the local kid.
Right, hey,
We've stolen him from Victoria.
You happy with the entertainment?
Snoop Dogg, get around him.
Captured today, doing a bit of a rehearsal at Marvel Stadium.
Let's have the no. Look, I'm one of those people.
I'm a fan. I like Snoop Dogg. I'm just all for Aussie entertainment.
Yeah, and I'm with it too. But you know what? If they're not going to do it, then that's fine. This is what we've got. You know what I mean? Like, personally, I'm not a massive rap guy. I'm a bit more of a.
I saw you as a rap guy, Mitch.
Did you?
Yeah, I can imagine you. Yeah.
Hold on. I'm not a rap guy.
Okay, that's better.
But no. But look, I'm happy with it. I don't complain. I think it's good.
It'll be a bit of fun, won't it? Mitch, for the last time this season, you know what time it is?
Yo, quarters,
Thirsty
it's time.
Camel mailbag time. This week's special single fin summer ale, 330 mils. Camel Club member price is $57.99 a carton. Join up in store or online today. Next week, Mitch, is the last chance to win a $50 digital voucher thanks to Thirsty Camel. Get your questions into TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Leave your mobile number at the bottom of your email as we'll send you the voucher if you're a weekly winner, of course.
Whew.
You don't need to do that till next
So
year.
$7.
This is our last one for
so
the
it's only
year.
$7.99 if you win the voucher.
That's right, mate. Very, very.
Josh,
very...
when do we get any Thirsty Camel
Oh,
booze?
we-
No, he's shaking his head at me. I reckon Josh has been stocking it all year.
There'll be opportunity. Don't worry. A bit of mail
I saw
this
him with
week.
a Heineken last week. I reckon he's.
Oh, you got that from Thirsty Camel.
He's stocking.
Bit of mail this week, so be patient. Hi, guys. There's a lot of talk about the Brownlow, which you get every year around the voting system. And there is talk of taking the voting away from the umpires. I disagree because look at the waffle. Even the expert panel couldn't decide the winner of the Simpson medal. It went down to the umpires' votes. Keep it as it is. Also, my family do footy tips for the grand final, and one of them is who will give away the 50-metre penalty. I'm having trouble here. Can you give me your suggestions, please? You voted on the Simpson. It was a difficult game to vote on. I was at the game, and I was thinking, who the hell am I giving 3 to?
I actually.
By the way, I would have given it to Scott Jones.
Fair enough. The more I've looked at this throughout the week, and I've spoken on radio about it, I've been criticised.
Pretty hard.
But I kind of like the fact that out of the 9 votes that were handed out,
They were completely different.
8 of them were different players.
Yeah. That's the sort of game it was.
But you know what? I like it. I like it. Obviously, Hamish Free, deserving winner, but I thought Chad Pearson was best on ground. I thought he had 7 intercepts, 14 disposals at 92%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're a backman under siege, last line of defence, that's an incredible effort for me, and he doesn't take kickouts. So, who's going to wear the first 50-metre penalty?
By the way, just before we go on, congratulations to South Fremantle. Thoroughly deserved to win the premiership. Well done.
100%.
And well done to East Perth for getting so close, for coming back from nowhere and also winning the Resis.
Yes, of
Good
course.
effort to East Perth. Are you happy with the Brownlow the way it is?
Yeah, of course.
Just give them the stats.
Yep, just give them the stats, but we nitpick on everything. There are so many. There's a Coach Awards, Players Awards, there's a Brownlow.
No, I like the Brownlow the way it is, but they need to have access to stats.
There's
You don't
best
have to
and
use them,
fairest.
just have access.
There's All Australians. There's plenty of ways to win awards. People rank different. Interesting. I think it was Luke Hodge I heard this week say that he ranks best and fairest in premiership years, the highest individual accolade. Kind of hard to disagree with him, to be honest.
Mate, it is.
But no, I'm fine with it. Just do it that. First 50-metre penalty on the weekend. I'm going to go Oisin Mullen for accidentally kicking the ball away.
I'm just going to go for Dane Zorko just because he's that kind of guy.
He's got no one's glasses to grab.
Oh,
$5,000 fine for that?
no, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Really?
Yep. Look, I know. Look, Mason Cox did charge into him, so there's that. But no, you don't be mucking around with that. I just think it's the wrong thing to do. So he won't care.
I thought 5 was a bit.
Tell you what, he won't miss the $5,000 if he's celebrating a premiership this year. Just on that, there's some good fun you can have around grand final day and having a bit of a pot going at home. One of my friendship groups, my mates, they famously have about 50 things to bet on, and one of them is the goal umpires. Who puts the flags in the post first before the game? Because they do, if you watch them, they do a bit of a routine. There's a bit of a warm-up. There's a hammy stretch. And then they go and put the flags in. And I'll tell you what, there's a bit of a cheer in the group when you win that one because it's a hard one to win. You got to pick them as they come out. Who would be most likely?
Yeah, okay.
Plenty of things you can bet on grand final day, my friend. Hi, fellas. First, thank you for the show this year. I've really enjoyed it. By the way, that was Paul from Rockingham.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Paul.
Hi, fellas. Firstly, thank you for the show this year. I've really enjoyed it. I appreciate your in-depth and objective coverage of the WA teams and across the AFL. I look forward to tuning in again next season. This is more of a comment than a question, but I found it tough to read Callum Toomey's latest top 30 draft picks. He's suggesting 15 from Victoria, 9 from South Australia, 4 from Queensland, 1 each from New South Wales and Western Australia. It makes it hard for us in WA to complain about Victorian bias in the AFL. The fact is, without Victoria, there'd be no national competition. Hopefully this draft serves as another wake-up call for WA footy authorities to take a hard look at our junior development pathways. That's from Andrew. Do you agree?
Great email, Andrew. I will stick up for WA football in one aspect. It's not perfect. I understand that. I have ideas. They have ideas. I could go into a long rant about this.
Well, they've addressed it. Peter Bell's now heading the head of talent development.
What I will say is that the tyranny of distance hurts WA. So in Victoria, there's the Coates League. Bendigo Pioneers and all those kind of regions get lumped together. They have very big high-performance programs. It's harder to do here because you can't have a high-performance league that's playing in the Kimberley that's playing against the team in Perth every week. It doesn't work. It's too expensive. Yes, should they have better facilities in WA? Maybe, this is the things we've got to look at. But at the end of the day, the population base is bigger than Victoria, and the sponsorships are bigger. And you know this, Quarters. You've been through and seen all those systems. That the tyranny of distance hurts WA. It's just the fact, and it's something they're going to try. They're trying to solve the best they can, and it's always going to be a work in progress. Victoria's always going to have more draftees. It's the fact you're going to get used to. It's disappointing not to have one rated in the top 10 this year. But then in saying that, we might have 3 next year. So you've got to wait and see.
High Quarters and Mitch, put on your tinfoil hats and cue the X-Files music. You're an X-Files fan? I liked a bit.
I am Scully.
I like Scully. I believe I have uncovered a curse that has riddled the West Coast Eagles' performance the past 4 seasons, coinciding with the lowest point of the club's performance. So from this point, I'll say West Coast Eagles supporters, maybe put on the headphones, go and listen to some music or something, just for a minute or two, because you won't like this.
Hit the skip button.
The John Worsfold medal is cursed.
Oh, God.
I call for a thorough investigation by the West Sports team to unpack exactly what went down on the night of 15th to September 2021 when Nick Nat was crowned for the second time. Let's look at the history. 2021 winner, Nick Nat. In 2022, he plays 8 games, nothing in 23, and retires at the end of 2023. 2022 winner, Tom Barrass. 23 plays 14 games due to back issues, then requests trade at the end of 2024. 2023 winner, Tim Kelly. In 2024, plays 20 games, but is impacted by dodgy knee for most of it and limps to 10th in BNF. 2025 year to forget, dropped to reserves. 2024 winner McGovern, forced to medically retire in 2025 after 6 games. Let's hope Liam Baker can stay on the park in 2026 and beyond. Can someone please run some sage through John's office and cleanse the BNF from its curse? In all seriousness, though, it does highlight an extended period of the club not being able to get their best players on the park. I would have thought had last year's top 3 in McGovern, Yeo and Waterman played to the same level this year, there would have been more than 1 win to McQualter's name. That was from Luke. And dare I suggest, I can say this, it's a bit naughty, but it's a pretty sober table, the Eagles at the Brownlow Medal night.
Yeah, it was.
You see them all playing those drinking games when they got votes. They only had 12 votes, the Eagles, and half of them were in 1 game.
Yeah, it was
very
great.
Sober table indeed.
Great email, Luke.
Was a great email.
You're wrapping Liam Baker in cotton wool.
You'll like this one. High Quarters
It
and
looks
Mitch.
huge.
Great show as always. As a Western Bulldogs fan, I have to put my tongue firmly in my cheek as I accuse you of blatant WA bias.
Yeah, fair.
Not even a mention of Footscray winning the VFL flag over the weekend. Although I'll acknowledge that the Box Hill pain from the week before was probably a factor for your good self. Well done to Taylor Duray, a former Hawthorn player, and well done to Adam Treloar and all the other Footscray players.
Who's this bloke? Sorry.
Hang on, I'll finish. Bad humour aside, I wanted to get your thoughts on why the AFL seemed to mess up fixturing so regularly. I think it was you who talked last week about how the Brisbane Lion women's team are fixtured in Queensland the day after the men's grand final and how they won't get the chance to properly celebrate with the men as a result. Seems like a massive oversight which could easily have been circumvented. In the VFL, the grand final was actually fixtured at the same time as the Footscray AFLW match. As a fan, it was quite annoying to have to choose which aspect of my club to support live. It goes on a bit, but look, I tend to agree. I think what we might find, that was from Dan. Well done to Footscray, by the way,
Dan,
for winning
Michael
the VFL.
Selwood, former Peel Thunder player, got another year on his deal there. He was fantastic in that grand final, I hear. Jed Buslinger was down in defence. Anthony Jones, some great players. Arthur Jones, sorry.
When they move the bye from after the final round to pre-grand final next year, when, not if, problems will be solved because that middle weekend, I think you'll find they'll have the State League Grand Finals and they'll get a little bit more oxygen. We'll be able to watch them and there'll be a lot more commentary about them. So I reckon that's one. And I think there needs to be some thought into the AFLW fixturing.
Just have
particularly
a bye.
Around,
Why don't you have a bye grand final week? No disrespect to the AFLW players. Give them the bye mid-season and come back next week. Let them have a week off because it does get a bit lost. And it's no disrespect to them.
One of our regulars, Andrew, writes a statement more than a question. Are this season's unofficial songs for the grand finalists app? Geelong was Cats in the Cradle. Brisbane was Hallelujah. Would the spectacle be enhanced by having these songs blaring as the teams burst through their grand final banners? Andrew, very apt, those songs. Well done on your pre-season. I think very prescient of him.
If you had Cats in the Cradle play when they walked out there, might have some dads tearing up.
It might have been a bit country roads for Charlie Cameron or, I like it. Yeah, no, I think you'll stick with the traditional club songs, but maybe post-game there can be a bit of that. Hi, boys. I started watching F1 this year, and one of the most interesting bits about it is the access to team radios. Hearing them gives you a behind-the-scenes insight into the race, helping you to understand the race and connect with the races even further. I think the AFL should do something similar. They should put mics in the boxes and benches and play some of the audio in real time. It would give fans an interesting insight into how the coaches, players' strategies, helping fans to better appreciate the tactics going on behind the scenes. Keen to hear your thoughts on this. That's Josh.
All I can think
I
of now,
love that email.
I do, but all I can think of now is the Rodney Eade audio of him screaming at Will Minson.
He's not an American.
And if you need
folk
that
singer who wears a mask, mate. He's not
Josh,
the Lone Ranger.
Can you bleep that out? But put right after this, what I'm about to say is the Will Minson Rodney Eade audio, and everyone will understand why they can never do it.
You know what I would really love to hear though? In seriousness, I would love to hear three-quarter time, and they probably wouldn't be able to do it all the time, but selected games, some three-quarter time addresses from coaches.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I can tell you right now,
if you knew. Chuck the mic over the top. Chris Scott seems to be the sort of guy who, you know what I mean? He's very cool and calm.
Very calm, relaxed, yes. No,
Wouldn't you love to hear a three-quarter time speech?
I would, but yeah, I just think that in the box, like I said, Josh, play it right now.
Will! Give it off quick!
Rocket, we can't think.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, come on. Okay, come on.
Look at Minson again! F*** him!
Yep. The Will Minson stuff, you can never do it. It would just imagine that come on live over the radio. Like it'd be horrendous.
It'd be just bleep, bleep,
yeah.
bleep all the time. Who wins it? Well, I'm going to go with Luke. It's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I think he's very inventive and very thought-provoking with his best and John Worsfold medal.
Luke, go around to Liam Baker's, wrap him in cotton wool, make sure he's okay.
Yeah, Liam Baker, who will have a great year next year. Don't worry about that. You have been listening to the West Sports Show. We've been brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Imagine what you could be buying instead, Mitch. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. Mitch.
Thank you, Quarters.
Thank you for a majestic, magnificent, marvellous 2025
We'll talk
season.
next week about a little bit of a wash-up and maybe a look ahead to some trade stuff.
Let's do that.